Hello, this is Josh Dumke of the Natural Resources Research Institute, which is a part of the University of Minnesota Duluth, and I'm going to go through the St. Louis County AIS Risk Assessment Tool, which was created in the project period of 2015 to 2017 to help St. Louis County planners and applicants review lakes at the greatest risk of receiving invasive species in St. Louis County. First, to get to the tool, you can type in St. Louis County AIS into Google, hit the search, aquatic invasive species pops up at the top, and it gets you to the St. Louis County webpage for the invasive species. If you scroll down to risk assessment, you will see the link to the tool right there. So then you can open up the tool. When you first come to the tool, you're going to be greeted by a welcome splash page that gives a lot of project information, a little bit of direction, how to cite the tool, and you can choose to never see this screen again, or you can just say OK each time it pops up and it'll disappear. There are three main tabs to this tool: the main, spatial analysis, and the risk assessment, and each has a little bit different function, but all are directed at the goal of identifying which lakes might be good candidates to invest in invasive species early detection or spread prevention. The main tab has a narrative on the side, and this sidebar is present among all the tabs, which explains what this layer does and what you can do in it. The main is essentially a data dump of all of the information on invasive species in St. Louis County. So you can turn on and off several layers, such as where have surveys specifically been performed to target rusty crayfish, where the blue dots show non-detections and the red dots show detections of rusty crayfish. You can turn on and off all of the boat launches in St. Louis County and surrounding counties, which are grouped as whether they're carry-in or trailer launches. You can identify which lakes are known to have populations of muskellunge, which may be important factors in considering which lakes could be targeted by specific groups of anglers. And then, of course, you can turn on and off layers for individual invasive species that we know about. So, for instance, turning on the spiny water flea layer lights up all the lakes that have spiny water flea in red. And some of the connection speeds that you have might determine how much of a delay there is each time you click on and off a button. When we go into the spatial analysis page, you'll see that the narrative bar is the same. It describes what this layer does and how you can do some specific searches, some of the breakout of the data that's housed within this tool, this layer of the tool. And the first portion that is visible is little p's and little s's. The S's are the survey locations for boater surveys. The P's are the prior water bodies indicated that boaters had visited within 1 to 4 days. The pair count here on the sidebar will show how strong the connections are, whether or not it's just a few connections, 1 to 9, 10 to 34, or a very strong connection, 35 to 121 records that exist. In order to see these, you need to turn on the Filter to Show tool, which lights up a lot of lines, so many in fact that you can't quite see everything. But you can identify in this query tool which water body you are wanting to see, and we can turn on specific lakes, the information from specific lakes. And in a later part of this web tutorial, I will show how to do some more advanced filtering. The risk assessment page is the culmination of 2 models and a relative ranking metric that was created for St. Louis County water bodies, which is explained in the narrative. The first layer that's visible are some orange lakes, blue lakes, and then lakes that are kind of shaded out in gray. The ranking criteria ranges from 0 to 5, with 0 being the lowest risk for receiving invasive species and 5 being the highest risk for receiving invasive species. The orange lakes are those that are ranking in the 4s and 5s. and the blues are the 1s to 3s. And these criteria for ranking are explained in the narrative, whether they meet certain criteria that are deemed risk categories. If you go into the layer section, you can turn off the introduction risk categories and turn on where to guide early AIS detections. And that shows lakes that are identified from a zero-inflated Poisson model on having more invasive species likely to be present than we are aware of right now. And there's 38 lakes in this category. You can also turn on a calcium layer, which conveys the calcium concentration of the lakes that we have that data. It just took a little bit to load. And it gives the average over all the years where there is data. And you can turn on the flow lines, which takes a little bit of time to load. But you can see where lakes lie in the watershed of relative position, upstream to downstream, which can be important for determining the risk of a lake having invasive species due to a natural connection. Okay, that's as far as we're going to go in this first part, and we'll explain a little bit more in detail in part 2. Thank you.